Hello, dear students. Today, our topic is electricity. Last class continuation. Subtopic is sources of electricity in our everyday lives. While using most of our electrical appliances, we insert the plug of the appliance to the plug point provided in the walls and turn the device on using the switch. However, we use several electrical appliances without plugging them in. As we have learned, for an electric current to be generated in a circuit, the source of electricity needs to have a potential difference in it, such as remotes or torchlights. Use a device known as an electrical cell to generate an electric current. An electric cell stores the potential difference that is required to generate an electric current. We have built our own cell to explore how it works. A chemical reaction occurs between the lemon and the metal sheets. Hence, this type of cell is called an electrochemical cell. An electrochemical cell can usually produce a small amount of electricity for a short period of time. Let us learn about a few types of cell. First one, primary cell, a type of cell that cannot be recharged after being used up is called primary cell. This is because the chemical reaction that happens inside them cannot be reversed. Second type, simple dry cell. A simple dry cell is a compact form of the Lagrange cell. All cells are made of three basic components: a cathode, which is positive terminal of a battery, an anode, which is the negative terminal of a battery, and an electrolyte. An electrolyte is a substance that conduct electricity when dissolved in a solvent. An example of a solvent used in electrolytes is water. Let us learn about how the components of a cell generate an electric current. In a simple dry cell, the outer layer is made up of a zinc container. This acts as the anode. There is a carbon rod at the center of the cell, which acts as the cathode. A mixture made of charcoal of carbon and manganese dioxide surrounds this rod. A fibrous layer made of fabric surrounds this mixture. A paste of a paste made of zinc chloride and ammonium chloride is sandwiched between the fabric and the zinc outer shell. Ammonium chloride acts as the electrolyte and zinc chloride keeps the paste moist. The electrolyte separates into positive and negative particles called cations and anions respectively. Being positively charged ions, cations move towards the terminal that has a negative charge. Being negatively charged ions, anions move towards the terminal that has a positive charge. Anions move in a direction opposite to the direction of movement of cations. This creates a flow of electric current. Another example of simple dry cells are alkaline batteries. The working of an alkaline battery is the same as a zinc chloride battery. Instead of ammonium chloride, potassium hydroxide is used as the electrolyte in alkaline batteries. Since the chemical inside dry cells is in the form of a moist base, they have the advantage of being carried and used in multiple devices without being wet or spilling. The next most important topic is secondary cells. Cells in which the chemical reaction that happens inside it can be reversed are called secondary cells. Electrical energy can be stored in the form of chemical energy in this type of cell. The energy of the cell can be restored by passing current through it in the direction opposite to the direction in which the generated current flows from the cell. An important advantage of secondary cells over primary cell is that they can be recharged after being used. Some examples of secondary cells are lithium-ion batteries and nickel-cadmium batteries. The next subtopic is switches. Around 2 years after the invention of the light bulb in the year 1884, John Henry Holmes invented a light switch. We have now learned the various parts of a simple electric circuit. Let us now learn how to draw one. Before that, we know a switch can be used to complete a circuit to turn the connected device on or to break the circuit to turn the connected device off. Next subtopic is electric circuit diagram. Electric circuits usually have a switch, a bulb, or other appliances, wires, source of electricity, etc. It may be difficult to draw all of these without elaborate work. To ease the work of drawing circuits, scientists have formulated a method in which we use symbols to draw the circuit components instead of drawing actual components. The circuit diagram can be drawn easily and neatly by using the symbols. Some of the symbols are given below. Next subtopic is types of circuits. The first one is closed and open circuits. To make any circuit, the components should be connected properly with the terminals of a power source and be closed to enable the current to flow through the circuit. When the current is open, the flow of electric current is interrupted and the circuit will not work. We call a circuit closed when the circuit components are connected properly with the power source in such a way that it enables an uninterrupted flow of electric current. Switches are used to close or open a circuit. In other words, to let the current flow or to stop as and when required. Next subtopic is difference between series and parallel circuits. The following table will explain the difference between them. First one is series circuit. When the components of a circuit are connected in such a way that the current flows from one terminal of a power source to the other terminal through all the components, it is known as a series circuit. Second point, in a series circuit, same current flows through all of the components when any one of the component does not work. It interrupts the flow of the current and the whole circuit will not work. Third point, in the circuit, the total voltage across the circuit is the sum of the voltages across each of the components. The total resistance across the circuit is the sum of the resistance across each of the components, that is V equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3 and R equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3. A circuit diagram consists of three bulbs. A cell and a switch connected in series is given below. Next, parallel circuit. In this type of circuit, the component branch out from the terminals of a power source, enabling same voltage to flow through each of the components. Second point, when supply of any one of the component is disrupted, when supply of any one of the components is disrupted, it does not affect any other component. Third point, as the components branch out, same voltage can be applied to each of the components. V equal to V1 equal to V2 equal to V3. A circuit consists of a power source and two resistors connected in parallel is given below. Next, we are going to study about insulators. The electrons of some materials are bound tightly with their respective atoms. Such materials do not conduct electric currents. Hence, when a voltage is applied to a wire made of such a material, it will not conduct electricity. Such materials are called insulators. We use such materials to insulate the materials that conduct electricity. For instance, we coat wires with plastic to be able to handle them without suffering an electric shock. Some materials have very few free electrons. When a voltage is applied to a wire made of such a material, the electrons face very high resistance and they cannot flow freely. Such materials are called poor conductors. Paper is an example of a poor conductor. Next subtopic is effects of electric current. Let us explore three primary effects of electric current which are helpful to us. Heating effect of electric current. When electricity passes through any material, it heats it up. A few electrical appliances are designed to use the heat generated by supplying electric current. In such appliances, the heating element is made up of material with a high melting point so that they will be able to reach higher temperatures. Example of such appliances are geyser, iron box, immersible water heater, etc. The factors that influences the heating effect of electricity are: first point, the strength of the flowing electric current, the resistance of the material through which the current flows, the duration of flow of the electric current. As a precaution, devices called circuit breakers are used to open the circuit whenever there is an excessive flow of current. Next subtopic is fuse. An electrical device called a fuse is designed to make use of heating effect for the safety of appliances. Whenever there is a high flow of electric current, the fuse wire melts and breaks the circuit. This prevents the appliances from being damaged due to overheating or short circuit. Fuses are usually insulated using glass or ceramic. Next subtopic is magnetic effect of electric current. In the year 1820, while doing an experiment, a scientist called Hans Christian Ørsted placed a magnetic compass parallel to a circuit parallel to a current carrying conductor. When electricity passes through the conductor, the needle of the magnet deflected. When he reversed the direction of flow of current, the needle deflected in the opposite direction. From this experiment, Ørsted concluded that when electric current passes through a wire, it induces magnetism around it. This property of electricity is used to make powerful magnets that are called electromagnets. Instruments such as ammeters, galvanometers, and voltmeters use this property of electricity for working. The magnetic effect of electric current is also used in appliances such as electric fans, telephones, etc. Next subtopic is chemical effect of electric current. When electricity is passed through an electrolyte, it causes the electrolyte to break into cation and anions. This process is called electrolysis. This chemical effect of electric current is most commonly used in the process of electroplating. Electroplating is a method used to coat the surface of a material with a thin layer of a metal, such as zinc or cadmium. Electroplating is useful to protect metal objects by coating them with metals that are resistant to rust and other forms of wear and tear.